Hi, guys. So here we are once again. It's Friday, and I'm really, really glad it's Friday. We are, we've had a crazy week. If you hear crazy sounds coming from around us, it's because we're having a torrential rainstorm right now. And we've had loads of rain. I don't know about other areas of the United States, and of course, I can't speak to Europe, but we've had more than our fair share, I think, at this point. Things have just kind of remained soggy, and it kind of gets to you. I think between the staying at home and not seeing people and self isolation, all that stuff, and the bad weather, it can, yeah, make you want to go back to bed and have a hot cup of tea. But anyway, I'm glad you guys are here. We have another sew along coming, and I'm excited. It is Bedgowns. So a lot of you've been asking. We've had the information up for probably 4 or 5 days now, maybe even a week, on supplies and everything that you need to have in order to do this latest project. It will be going live next Wednesday, I hope. Christina had a little boo boo with her ear today, so she can't use her earphones right now. So, as long as she gets on the mend, we should be starting next Wednesday. Also, there will be a link and a way of purchasing the pattern at that point in time when it goes live. So, you'll be all set for that. And Christina and Brooke have been working really hard on this new sew along. You're going to get tons of information. And I'm planning on sharing some information with you guys today, too. Um, First, I was going to ask, does anyone have any questions from the shift sew along? Any problems or issues that they need to address before we move forward and start talking about bed gowns?
Um, they're discussing about what to do with the gores at the edge. Um, can they be the straight edge and what to do at that point? Um,
It there is direction
yeah,
in the video that shows how you lay it over. That's why you leave that little bit open at the ends of each gore, because you kind of tuck everything in and you're able to go in one line with your long seam for one of the gores. Um, and that makes it nice and neat. And the other gore slides up underneath it and gets tucked in. What I don't think I brought, nope, left them. Anyway, we can, at some point in time, we can give you a little up close of what that looks like again, just to remind you. But do go back, and I think Christina was going to try and add some markers on some of these. It's a lot of work, but when she has time, she will go back to the video and add some markers for you that will allow you to fast forward to certain areas that you may want to get into, like the neckline. You just want to deal with the neckline. I'm hoping everybody did okay with their necklines. It can, your neckline, even if it comes out too big, it's not a big deal. Your stays hold it in place. One, I have one ship that's huge that if I don't have stays on it, it lays down here on me. But I pull it up and I pull it in basically when I have my shift on, and it all stays in place. And I don't have to worry about it. And it also gives me a lot of movement as far as pushing it further back on either side, pulling it down in the back, so that whatever my neckline is, I don't have a shift showing. So necklines are not as crazy and hard as you might think they would be, and don't be afraid of them. But anyway, so we were going to talk a little bit about bed gowns today. Before we get started, does anyone have any quick questions? Or if you don't, then I'm going to try, we'll see if I can do it, share my screen and do a little, just a little quick PowerPoint for you to show you a few images and for those of you that don't know what a bedgown is, I'm actually wearing one. This is my bedgown. I've had this for years. It's unlined, so you can see that it's just got a very narrow hem. And I added an extension that was a different fabric. And I think I talked to you guys about that last week. Now I didn't put any images in because I ran out of time. But one of the things that I noted with all of the foundling work that I did was that the little gowns that these babies came in are built a lot like a bedgown. And the bedgowns do vary as far as their styling and that sort of thing, but they all tend to be an unstructured T-type shaped garment with various neckline applications, and loose to semi-fitted sleeves. Typically they are to the bottom of the buttocks or mid thigh in length, and they're meant as a form of undress, which I had already mentioned to you too. The bedgowns that these, or the gowns that these little babies were being brought in tended to be made of one fabric and cuffed with another, which I thought was really neat. And you do see in some depictions, some art depictions, two different colors, or a check or something like that in the cuff area. So by all means, if you want to do a separate fabric for your bottom extension to make a separate cuff, go for it. And we will also talk about a couple of extants that I'm going to show you and what they did. So I think I'm going to try and share my screen. We'll see if I can do this. I'm doing it. I hit on that and share. Oh, and there I am. Okay. So let's see, let me go to the slideshow. And from the beginning. And there we are. So this first picture, what I'm going to do is show you a few depictions. And what you'll note with all of these is that they are women working, basically. They're doing some type of activity wearing this bedgown. This bedgown is very early. This is Paul Sandby, and supposedly this was done shortly after 1745 in Edinburgh. And this one, from the back of it, because it's unstructured, because it doesn't have any type of gathering or plackets or anything, my guess is it's probably a bedgown. And also it's not pulled tight around the waist. It's kind of loose. So ours is going to be like that as well. It's not going to have any, gathering in the back, no pleating, no anything. It's very simple structure. It's going to be a plain back with flared sides to go over the hip area. And that's it. So that's the first one. The second one, this was the Paul Sandby happens to be really good for this kind of stuff, this working woman depictions. They call it Two Women Holding a Basket. And I've seen another title for it, Two Women Selling Crockery. So, and it does look like they have crockery in the basket, but this is dated 1759, so we're still early. And you can see it's, it's a loose fitting garment. They tend to wear their handkerchiefs out and tucked in maybe towards the front, maybe loose, like you see the woman on the left wearing hers. It's just another garment that they wear, and that's basically to cover up their skin and protect it from the sun, and also to be used in multiple ways if they need it on their head, if they need an extra bit of warmth, or to hold a hat down, etc., to wipe their faces, you name it, they use it. You can see here she's got a blue apron, which is kind of fun. Now these are English depictions, just so you know, from country of origin. Her sleeve is not that big. My sleeve, if you can see here. Whoop.
Pause.
What? Pause.
We have a slide image. You're looking at
what?
A second. Let's see. For some reason.
Is there a delay in what I'm showing them and what they're seeing?
No, let's see. Screen share.
Sorry, guys, technical as usual. We're really good at this. I mean, at the not the technical.
This screen.
Okay.
Okay, give them a moment.
Sorry, you guys. Am I starting over?
No, just go to the next slide.
Okay. Which next slide? Because I've already gone through several.
Go to the next. You start at the first one.
Okay.
Click.
It won't allow me to do it on with my.
No.
It won't allow me to click through.
No, you have to use
There
the
you
arrow.
go.
Yeah.
No, the arrow wouldn't work.
Okay.
But my clicker does.
Okay. Great.
So I was talking to you about the other Paul Samby one where she's wearing a loose gown, and her sleeve is kind of, mine is actually a little looser, but then again, mine is built, it's straight, and it has to take care of my upper arm, which is very large, which gives me a bigger bottom. And you'll find variations in that. You also have the ability, and we'll talk about it as I go through this, of possibly tapering the sleeve if you want to later on. So that's 1759. Now, there we go. So this next one is another Paul Samby, and it's also 1759. And I want you to pay attention. I'm going to make a little arrow here. Pay attention to her neckline, because that's the kind of neckline that we have going on here. Basically, it is a shaped neckline. You're going to be achieving your shaped neckline by turning back a little bit of fabric. In the straight of grain, you're going to turn back some fabric, and that's going to give you a bit of an angle. You also see some originals that actually have sort of a shaped neckline, which this might very well be just because it has a nice curve to it. But this one is definitely a bedgown, just because of the shape and the whole way it's fitting her. Again, it's a T garment. It does not have, a set-in sleeve. It's a very loose fitting garment. Another one here, this is London Cries, and you can see she's also wearing a bedgown, and hers is open. You can see that it's kind of poochy in the tummy area, which makes me wonder if she's just wearing a set of jumps or possibly not wearing her stays at all. But my guess would be she's wearing just like a lady's waistcoat or a set of jumps, something that's not really holding her in the proper shape that she would be held in if she were wearing a set of stays. And here, it's kind of hard to tell, but there may be, you can see it's another shaped neckline here. And here it looks like possibly there may be something happening where there's some type of little extra bit of fabric that's overlapping that possibly could be pinned. This one is one of my favorites. This is a printed bedgown. Again, you can see she's got a separate colored cuff. She's wearing a bedgown and a petticoat, and the other lady is wearing a gown, and you can see the gown hanging behind here. And they're both wearing, well, she's wearing a handkerchief that you can't really see, but this lady's wearing two different handkerchiefs, which I really like. Little side note there. But she's wearing a simple printed gown. Again, it's fairly long in the sleeve. The fabric is turned back, or the cuff is turned back and has a separate color. It could be that it's fully lined and it's been turned back. It could also be that it's an extension of a different fabric and it's unlined and it's turned back. Either one could be the case. And you can see a lot of times you'll see in these depictions too that they're not tying them shut, they're not pinning them shut, they are crossing them over, and then they're tying their apron around, and that's what's holding their bedgown shut. And then they're filling in the neckline area with their handkerchief. Here's another one. This one is Swedish, but you get that same feeling, that same look. Now she has on a shift which has a sleeve ruffles and a neck ruffle. She is a lady's maid, probably. She's definitely an indoor servant. So she's a little bit more stylish. But you can see here, right in here, this would have been closed at this point, but it's hanging open. The bedgown is hanging open. Again, it's fairly loose, and she has a cuff. It's not actually cuffed, but this is actually a sleeve extension that has been tucked in this area into the crook of the arm in order to make it more comfortable. So that's probably been just tucked and stitched. And this is one of our favorites and the one that we referred to last week. This is Plucking the Turkey by Henry Walton. This dates from the beginning of the last quarter of the 18th century. And you can see that the sleeve on this has gotten tighter. So this is a fairly fashionable sleeve that she's wearing. She does not have it cuffed up. It's cut to fit. So chances are this has been tapered to fit her, but you can see in this area from her, the way she's sitting with her stays on, but you can see this is all in one. There is no inset or anything. This is a T shape again. And then of course you have the loose fabric here, and it's being held closed with an apron. This one is great. Again, it's the same idea as the last one, and we're looking at 1779 here. And in this case, the woman again is wearing something that's being closed with an apron, and then she just has her handkerchief tucked in. And hers is not cuffed. It's fairly long. It's going down to the wrist, and it appears that the what do you call it? The sleeve is tapered a bit. And then we've got this one. This is dated from 1790s by the Philadelphia Museum of Art. And I'm not sure why it's so late because it looks a little earlier to me. But again, you've got that same shape. So as you can see, there's not a whole lot of difference in the way it looks. You're looking at a T shape, you're looking at a loose fitting shape, and one that is closed either with a pin or not closed, just closed by its apron, and with either a straight sleeve or a slightly tapered sleeve. Which brings us to a few extants that exist. One of them is a bedgown from the collection of Winter. I'm sorry, I could not get the date. I want to say this is last quarter. I'm pretty sure it is, but their site is down for some reason. And I realized I didn't have the date and couldn't go back and get it. And you can see that this one is fully lined. Now, remember, we talked about unlined, fully lined. We're going to show you unlined, but we're going to talk to you about lining it. In this case, it is fully lined. It's made pretty much the way we're going to make ours. It has a little bit of shape here in the neckline area. It has the little inset piece back here, and it has, and it's lined, completely. Probably in the sleeves too. I've not seen this one. When I go to Winter next year, I am going to see it because I want to see the construction in the sleeve area, because the next one I'm going to show you, I think, we'll talk about that sleeve area. So this one is the one that I looked at Platt Hall. Here's the picture that they have online, which is not very good. This is this is not very good either, but the curator at the time gave us a few garments hanging, but we were not given permission to take them off the hangers, and he disappeared. So I wasn't going to touch them. So all of the looking that I did and the measurements, et cetera, that I took were all based on looking at them on the hanger. And you can see how this hangs. You can see it's got a slight shape to the neckline area, and that you can see those little points that happen because of the shape of it. Look at it in the flat, but in the hanging, you get little points on the sides. So that's something you're going to notice when you build yours. Here's a couple of details for you. Here's that inset that you're going to get in yours, and you will see this. You'll be able to go back and look at this live online if you need it up close and personal while you're putting in the neckline inset. And I want you to take a little note here. This is a mistake. This is where they cut their tee too big, that line that goes here too big, and then they had to stitch it back up. And I have one too, because I made the same mistake. So it does happen in the period and in modern. And I like this. I just wanted to show you, they are using the selvage edge of the fabric and they're butt seaming it to get their sleeve extension. So I thought that was really cool. Okay, so this is a little surprise for you. This is a long bedgown or wrapper. I also looked at this at Platt Hall, and it's made basically the same way, except it's long. Now they are presuming it to be for a woman. We don't know, but they're presuming it to be for a woman. And it has a date of 1760 to 80. It's a printed linen cotton, so it's an English goods. It's been printed for the English consumer, and it has a linen half lining in it. So this is not fully lined. And you'll see on this next one, you can see the half lining in here. There's one tie, which ties about the bust area. And here with my thumb, you can see a detail of the cut in here where that T, or that little, not T, but that rectangular back portion of the neckline is inserted. In this case, they've got a somewhat shaped front, so they're getting a higher neckline by doing that. But it's a neat idea, and it's something you could do. Make a duster or make a wrapper. This last one is a bedgown or a short gown from Colonial Williamsburg. It has a date of 1775 to 1815. It's cotton. It's an outer cotton print with a different inner cotton print. This one is built much like a bedgown. However, it does not have an insert. Instead, it has a shaped neckline, and it has a drawstring which runs through the back of the neckline. And there is also, which I can't see, and I could have sworn when I saw this years ago. So when they open back up, I think it's going to be on the top of my list to ask Neil to look at it again. They say that they have a high back casing, that there's a drawstring there as well.
Yeah,
Is there one?
If you look at it in costume close up, you can
see it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. It's in costume close up. So this one is in costume close up. So if you own that, you can go and look at it. You can see the pattern for it.
Maybe that's the other one.
Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. The other one does have gathering in it. I'm not sure this one does. I think that there may be some confusion. I don't know. Anyway, I do know because I was able to do a high resolution of this area. There is gathering up here, just in the back. So there's a back casing, and that's why it's got this kind of ambiguous name of bedgown or short gown, because Brooke and Christina will talk about this more in the videos as they're showing you how to make this. The bedgown is something that we don't really have a definitive understanding of, except for the one Garcon one where he calls it a bedgown, and it's got a shape that's it's a lot more complicated than the shape that we are going to build. That one is early. If you're familiar with Kathleen Canick's patterns, Canick's Corner, she did do her own interpretation of that pattern. I believe that she had it, what do you call it? She had someone translate it for her, all the French into English, and then she tried to follow the directions step by step. So that is a very large garment. It's very bulky. It's got big gathers in the sleeves. It's got great big sleeves. Not like what we're going to be making. So that is the Colonial Williamsburg, and I think that's the end. That's the end. Now, how do I get rid of it? Stop share. There you go. Here I am again. I did it. Anyway, yay. Technology. It's not my friend.
We had a few few patterns that
Yeah,
patterns. We had a few questions come up.
sure.
One of them about if we're going to be offering the pattern for this,
Yes.
which will be available next week.
Yes. It'll
And
be a link that'll actually be on the sew along. We may give you a direct link ahead of time once we get figured out how we're going to do this, because it is going to be a small purchase on this particular pattern.
yeah. Also, can this is this bedgown sort of like a house coat that could be worn out in public?
Well, if you notice all of the depictions I showed you, where it looks like they're wearing them in public, they are either working or they're working. So you see them doing tours, or you see them as tradespeople, like the people who were selling crockery and the woman who had the basket on her head. So they're all selling something or working in a trade or doing some type of manual labor, which means they want something that's more comfortable to wear. To go out and visit your neighbors, probably not, unless you are the meanest sorts. Then that might be the only garment you have. So you would wear it wherever you went. So other questions? Brooke's got a look on her face. She's trying to read all your questions. Yeah, keep talking. She says, keep talking. I'm talking. I'm talking. But if you notice, again, you'll be able to go back and see my little slideshow because it'll be part of this video. And you can take your time and you can stop it and look at the depictions. And I tried to give you as much information as I could so that you could look up those images yourself. They're all readily available online. I didn't find anything unusual or strange, so that you would have a difficult time finding it. So you can find all of them on your own. And including the garments. The only thing you can't find are the few pictures that I added in there for your enjoyment, which are my own study pictures from when I looked at those two garments. However, they are copyrighted, so please don't share them all over the world.
How is a bedgown wrapper different from a banyan?
Okay, very easy. I think the most simple definition is that a banyan has a set-in sleeve. So it is built more like a coat in the sense that it's fitted to the body, and a wrapper is a loose garment like our bedgown. So it's a T shape. It may have some pleating in it. It may not have some pleating in it, but it's basically this T shape. It might have some type of an underarm gusset. It might not. And it's loose and flowy, whereas the banyan is a fitted garment.
Now, can they do a cotton bedgown lined in linen?
Yes. You notice that the one that I showed, the one long one that I showed you was a linen cotton, which was a common textile in England that they used to print on, because they weren't allowed to print on cotton and keep it. They could import cotton from India. They weren't capable of producing a good cotton textile, but they were able to produce a good linen cotton textile. So because the wool industry was the biggest industry in England, at one point they put in a sumptuary law which basically prohibited them wearing and keeping printed cottons. So they would still import cotton and print it and then export it to us, right? But they couldn't necessarily keep it. So they made their own linen cotton and they printed that for the industry in England and Scotland. And that industry also was here as well. I've done a lot of work on textiles and differentiating between the idea of cotton that was coming into the country and this linen cotton that was coming into the country, because it wasn't thought of and talked about in the same way we would today. It wasn't delineated the way it is now. So they were using a lot of these, what I call Manchester goods, here in the colonies and of course in England. So what did you want to show me? Oh, we're getting late.
No, we're not getting late. I just know it's
Oh,
going to take
okay.
you a while to talk about them
Okay.
because
So,
they're
so
ready to talk fabric.
oh, they're ready to talk fabric. You're ready to talk fabric. Okay. Well, we did get a lot of new fabrics in, but what I showed you, it just so happens that those three, four garments are all printed, right? And some of them have a woven plain linen lining or a checked linen lining. Yes.
Um, when you say linen cotton, do you mean that it's like a cotton linen mix, or is
I mean that it is a linen. Remember, we talked about weft means left. In the 18th century, they are warping the looms in linen and then they are filling them, wefting them in cotton. And that is a linen cotton of the 18th century. They are not blending the fibers. And I, you know, I can be proven wrong, but I have never, ever, ever seen it blended. It is a linen warp yarn and a cotton weft yarn to produce this textile.
if bedgowns were such informal garments, why would one waste pretty fabrics like the printed ones on such a thing? Were the printed ones only for the rich, like a silk
No,
nightgown today?
no. That's the other misnomer that's out there. And a lot of work has been done. John Stiles has done a good bit of work. I've done a bit of work, and hopefully we'll have more work that'll be out there in the public. I've given a lot of lectures on it. Prints were readily available and they weren't necessarily that expensive. Now, multi prints, yes. The nice chintzes that you see that are 8 or 9 colors that are polished, etc. Those, yes, those are expensive. But these one prints, like what I have on right here, this is from Colonial Williamsburg. This is a reproduction from them. And this is just a simple one print cotton. And that would have been readily available to even the lower sorts. If they didn't get it firsthand, they would have gotten it secondhand through the secondhand market. So simple prints, yes.
Can a bedgown be made reversible? So not just lined, but
Mhm.
reversible. Which is
You
interesting
know,
because I'm planning to make a modern one out of
reversible.
reversible
Right,
completely.
right,
But it will require some like tricky work to make everything exactly
right.
reversible.
Well, what happens when if you do it from an 18th century standpoint, when you lay in a lining, you see a little bit of your fashion fabric on your lining side. So if you don't mind that, I guess you could turn it the other way. Um, However, what I need to know is I need to look at everybody's sleeves. So remember the Platt Hall one, the blue and white one? In the sleeve area, they lined it, but they only lined it to there. Okay. And then they lined the rest of it with the fashion fabric so that when you turn the cuff up, you would only see the fashion fabric. So it was joined at that point, never meant to be turned inside out. Okay. And some of the way that they put it together aesthetically, you wouldn't have wanted to see it because you're seeing all the slip stitches, you're seeing all the hemming stitches, that kind of thing that you wouldn't see normally from the outside. Um, if you want to do it from a modern standpoint, history bounding, go for it. I can't document it yet. I'll let you know if I can later. So unless people have further questions,
No, they're
okay, then I'm going to show you guys some of the new fabric that came in. Brooke got it up a couple days ago, so I know that some of you have already gone ooh ah. I'm going to show you my favorite first because I love the color.
and my least favorite.
You're her
Sorry.
because you would look
I
in
would
it.
look terrible in
It
that.
was- so this is one of my favorites, and you can't see the color nicely on this, but this is a pretty yellowy mustard color. It's not nearly as bright, and when I'm looking at it on the computer, I hope it's bright to you, but it's a lightweight linen. um this one, it has like a sad green. It's actually kind of like a grayish green color that could easily have been gotten with a madder dye, and a madder dye might have been used with this as well. Although fustic was real common for making like the yellows, that sort of thing. But this is sort of a mustardy yellow, a reddy yellow. So it might have had madder in it as well. So that's the first one. The next one is this one, which I think somebody just got the other today. They asked me about it. This one has like a sort of a almost a grape color in it. We didn't call it out because it's so close to the other color. What did we call that color? I forget now. We call it wasn't cranberry because it's not cranberry. Maroon.
Burgundy.
Burgundy. Okay.
Because we wanted to go for like a wine color, and we were like
Yeah.
claret, burgundy,
Burgundy is deeper. Yeah.
Carmenere.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Carmenere.
wait, that's a Chilean wine.
And it's Friday. But burgundy, sort of a dark grape color, and then this pretty little light rust or even a pumpkiny color stripe. Stripes like this, I see over and over again in extants. Not necessarily with all these colors, but yes, you could have. Now, the difference would be this is all linen. And in the 18th century, some of these colors would have been cotton because you could have gotten brighter colors with the cotton than you can with the linen. This one is like that. This one, that one runs the regular way. This one is railroaded. It runs selvage to selvage. Okay, if you can see that. And this one has that same pretty kind of pumpkiny, orangey color in it. And then it has a dark blue and a very dark green in it. So the blue and the green look very similar, just like the burgundy and the grapey color look the same in this one. So there's not a lot of distinguishing color, but it's enough that you get a sense of the colors that are going on. This one, because it runs selvage to selvage, it's 60 inches wide. If you don't need a bedgown greater than 30 inches long, you're good to turn it sideways. Again, because I've told you, most linen is dimensionally stable. It's not going to pull this way and it's not going to pull that way, if you can see, right? So you can turn it cross grain and still be okay. This is just, I see this as a gown. I don't know that I
Hold
see
up
this.
higher, please.
I will. I got to get it out. I see this as a gown. I don't necessarily see this as a bedgown, but this is a pretty pink, which again, you can't see real well, but it's, I don't know. Maybe if I hold it up here. No, there's too much light on me. There we go. But it's a real pale pink and a white, about a 3/4 of an inch stripe. Oh, there we go. That helps. No, yeah, a little bit. It's a 3/4 inch stripe. And now I look like I am in a rainstorm. I have deep.
I can't get it right.
Yeah, well, we just need a studio, right? Anyway, this pink is very light. I have seen pinks just like this, again, in collections. And I've actually seen it called out as a color pink, which is a lot of fun and something that has been a bone of contention for some scholars over the years. And I can prove it exists. This is
my favorite one.
Yes, this is Brooke's favorite. This is a ticking. It is a herringbone weave. It's a medium weight. It's very sturdy. It has a red stripe, and then it truthfully has kind of a pinkish, I want to call salmon stripe that runs next to it. If you look at the description of this on our website, it'll note that I looked at some samples from 1780s that were actually woven as a natural and white herringbone and had a red yarn woven in it, and they were 100% linen, and it was a nice bright red. So I thought that was really neat. And this one, I'm sorry, you guys, my allergies I keep scratching my nose. That's embarrassing.
Just don't blow your nose with the fabric.
Yeah. Anyway, this is really beautiful. It's sturdy. Would I make a fancy gown out of this? No. Would I make work clothes out of this? Yes, I would.
Would you make stays out of it?
Okay, stays. The problem with stripy stays is I can't necessarily find them. You find beautiful silk covered stays that, brocaded stays and um, damask stays and plain silk stays. But in linens, you tend to find solid. I don't find stripes. What I do find stripes in is in the linings. So if you need that pop of color, put it in your lining and nobody will ever see it but you.
Or make a
Sorry.
bedgown or a gown out of
Yeah,
it.
a bedgown, yeah, a work gown, an apron. Well, it's kind of fancy for an apron. But yeah, or buy it for your husband and make a pair of trousers and tell him that's not pink. Yeah. Tell him that's just that's a lighter red, dear.
Can you show them the other herringbone ticking that is good for
Yes,
stays?
yes.
Because I am definitely getting some of this for my
This
new
is
pair of Augusta stays.
beautiful. I was really excited to get this. Lately, they've tended to give me, I've only been able to get like a lighter version, and you're not going to see this at all. But wait a minute. Is that showing
I can't
the
see
weave?
yet.
You don't see me?
I see you 20 seconds later.
Oh, you see me. Okay, I'm going to do this. All right, I'm going to do
Just
this.
don't hold it there the whole time.
I'm just going to hold it here.
I'm sure that's beautiful.
You sure it's
It'll
beautiful?
it'll be in our fabric swatches next week.
Okay. But anyway, this herringbone, this I've got all kinds of documentation for these small herringbones, and these are being manufactured for the clothing industry. They're being used for stays, they're being used for men's waistcoats, they're being used for men's breeches, they're being used for shoes. This particular herringbone is small. It's fairly tightly woven. This I would wash. We tend with stays not to wash the linen because we like the sizing in it. But in this case, I would wash it to tighten it up even a little bit more. This would be lovely as a summer bedgown. It would be lovely as probably, a summer gown. It's sturdy. It might be a little heavy for a gown, but it would be a hard wearing white apron if you needed it. Probably you could get a pair of summer trousers out of it for your fella or a waistcoat. Or even a jacket, maybe an unlined jacket for summer out of that. So lots of good things. I also have some of my checks, which again, remember we talked about this with the bedgowns. I'd like for you to get more documentation if you're going to do bedgowns out of the check. Just see if you can find something that'll help you out with that regard. And I believe we had some documentation last week. Christina was able to pop up some things that she was finding for us. But this is one of our checks, and I have a similar check again in my research that has this blue. The black is not black. It's actually a very dark blue that's in my extants. But you see these complex checks all the time, more than you would guess. So yeah, you see a lot of blue and white checks, but you see a lot of others too. And then I have the classic blue and white check. And this one is like a medium linen. Excuse me. Okay, I'm not going to wait. Sorry, you guys. Oh, goodness. Sorry. It's always real every week, right?
Yeah. And this one's a Polish linen, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
This one is not too heavy. It's a simple blue and white. So it would be an inexpensive linen to have and own. It is a medium blue, which means they didn't spend a lot of time in the indigo pot, which makes it even cheaper because you had special indigo dyers. So this medium colored blue would be something very inexpensive, very easily had. And it's a good check. I also got, goodness, I also got some solids in, which will be up next week. Now you can't make a bedgown out of this, but I'm going to show it to you. And can you see me through it? I don't know. Anyway, this is sheer. It's like a semi sheer. I guess if I put You can kind of see my hand through it. You'll see it online and you'll be able to get a better handle. This is a corded linen. You see this in, I've got several swatch books that have linen like this in it, and they actually put it in like the dimity category. Um, this one is light enough that it would be great for a summer gown. It would be great as a cap or an apron, something like that. Um, it's not going to be sheer, but it will, it's nice. And then we've got a few solids that we just got back in, and we will get them up for you. We got two blues, one that's slightly darker than the other, one that's basically like a dark medium, and then one that's a dark, uh, I don't know, we called this one indigo and this one dark indigo. But these are both nice. They're both fairly lightweight. This one in particular, this dark indigo, has a beautiful hand to it. I love it. It's one of my favorites.
I just realized that I did not bring a sample of the dimity up. We have the corded linen, but we also have that
yeah, we got our
off-white
new dimity.
How is
If
the
you-
dimity different from the corded linen? Would that be?
It well, dimity is a broad term
Yeah.
for harness loomed fabrics, and the dimity of the 18th century, what it started out as like a linen and cotton and became an all cotton textile, but they're harness loomed. And so you could get you could get little bird's eyes, you could get different various stripes, all kinds of patterns out of this that all fell into the dimity category. But the one that I showed you last week that my petticoat is made out of is the one that we have back in stock. And that one's really great for, again, a summer gown, a under petticoat, or an outer petticoat if you wish, a men's lightweight summer jacket, men's waistcoat, children's clothes, lots of things. So that is back in stock. We also, with colors, we got a sage green back in stock. So a real pretty sage green. And this is a medium weight. This is a stouter linen. So if you want something that's got a little more meat to it, you can go for this one. And then we got, lost it. And then we got a Saxon blue in stock. We have a Saxon green and now we have a Saxon blue. So the Saxon has a slight green cast to it. It's a blue with a slight green cast to it. It's not aqua, but it's sort of in that family. We also got this sort of a half bleached, really heavy linen. And this, if you're looking for something low class and really sturdy, then something like this might be your ticket. And you'll find this under half bleached. This is a new wool that we got in. This is kind of semi-sheer, so maybe better suited for a complete gown. Oh, nasty.
Don't show the dirt mark that's on it.
Yeah, that's better. This is semi-sheer, but it's a beautiful worsted wool. Would make up really nicely into a gown.
It really would.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous.
And we've got one last fabric. I hope we have some of it left. It's already proven to be one of the most popular ones.
Of course it has, because I liked it and I had to have it. And I think you'll notice on our website every once in a while there'll be a here's a fabric that doesn't fit in to basically who we are, but we like time traveling like the next guy. And every once in a while I see a time traveling fabric that I just cannot resist. And it's this one. This is all linen. If you go to our website and look this one up, you'll see my some documentation information. What I did is I put up a beautiful linen and cotton that dates from 1760 that has basically the same colorway as this, but this just aesthetically, it reads a little too modern. The colors are a little too bright. So I felt a little more comfortable saying that I could see this in an 1830s on type of application. So that's what I'm sticking with. But you look at my little documentation and you be the judge. So
Christina plans to make a romper out of it.
I'm actually, I'm like, what do I want to make out of this? I'd like a blouse out of it, but I hate making blouses. Too many buttons.
You could use it for your 1900 outfit you're making.
I could do that. No, I don't. You know, actually, I thought about that. I've having a hard time. We're both making scoop pattern fantail skirts. Yeah, because we're going to go do an Edwardian tea. And at some point, if we ever get out of isolation. And so I did choose, I actually chose, I'll show you guys.
And when Angela says she's making a fantail skirt,
well, I'm doing all the cutting out.
She's going to mean she's going to tape the pattern together and cut the pattern out and cut the fabric out, but I will be sewing it together for
because
her.
she volunteered. Hello. She volunteered. And I was like, you and your machine get along a whole lot better than me and my machine do. My hands work a lot better. I'm going to use this. Who said what?
Neil said that he would make a romper too.
I think you should. And I think they should match. Just saying. Go for it. I want you to do it, Neil. You and Christina all the way. I'm making mine out of this because I'm making a white blouse, or I'm getting a white blouse, but I'm also making a white blouse, and that's a spider. Yes.
Yeah, Jenny said it would make a great 1940s house dress.
There you go. I mean, that's what I saw all this stuff when I saw that. And I actually got offered another one, but I was like, no, I have to buy stuff for the stuff that we have to make. Yeah. But anyway, that one I couldn't resist. So now I don't know where we are with time.
We're
How
good.
are we?
We're good. We've got a few more minutes. You've got some things behind you that you also were going to explain.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what I was going to do, is show you one more thing, which I can reach. Yay me. All right. The other thing I talked to you guys about last week, we talked about somebody was asking me, or maybe it was week before last, somebody was asking me about the green bordered handkerchief that I've had in the past. And I said, hey, I actually do have that, but it's been made in a textile that we don't normally make our handkerchiefs out of. So it's been put away and I didn't know what to do with it. And then I figured out what to do with it. And I put them up online and they're under our specials page. And I think they're also in our handkerchief page, but they are in our specials page. And they are basically a very, very lightweight version of our handkerchief. So I'm going to show you a comparison. If you look, this is our regular handkerchief. Okay. And you can see the textile, right? Now I'm going to show you these very, very light, which is actually beautiful cotton muslin, but not what we normally do with our handkerchief. This is the one. Now we had 3 different ones that are printed on this cotton. There's this, there's the green bordered one, and then there was the, what was the other? Oh, the purple and red one with the purple zigzag border. So as you can see from this, you can see that it's not as bright because it's the fabric is a lot more loosely woven. You can see, you can see me through it. You can't see me through this one. So you can't see me. But for you guys, so you know what they look like, they really are beautiful. I mean, it's like air. I mean, this, I can take this whole thing and just wad it up into my hand because the fabric is that thin, you know. I mean, it makes a small little ball. And I think it's, if you're doing like around the neck the way I do, I have one of each put away for myself because it's less fabric around my neck. because it's a lot lighter. So that's really that's my pitch for today. Um, the, the bedgown, the bedgown workshop, again, will start next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Uh, yeah, fingers crossed. Like I said, Christina hurt her ear, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see if she feels better by tomorrow. We're hoping, and we'll let you know if it changes. But you'll have more time to go shopping for fabric and deliberate. In fact, I think
and finish their shifts.
and finish your shifts.
As you've noticed, we've started sharing the different sewing tutorials that Christina started doing with us many years ago.
Right.
And this is a great way for you to review your hand sewing skills, just to be even more ready for bed gowns and then caps.
Yep. Because that's what we're going to have. Our finale is going to be caps. So, and truthfully, the way we've got it set up is bedgowns will start next week. So you've got 3 weeks for your bedgowns. And then we may have a week off. I don't know yet. It'll depend on what has to happen and get done. But we're actually going to be into caps in the middle of the summer, so that if you are taking those camping trips or what have you this summer, caps are tiny. They fit in a little plastic bag and off you can go. So you're not dealing with a big garment. You've got just a tiny little project that you can take wherever you are and work on. We're going to have 2 cap choices, so you'll be able to choose one or the other. So it'll be great, or both. Yeah. So are there any more questions for me?
If you do have questions about how much fabric to get, depending on what size you are and on the width of the fabric, if you go to our website, to the top of our main page, there's a link that takes you directly to it. I also put a link to our sew-alongs here in the chat. But we have all of that on there. Also, when you get the pattern, there will be that information on the pattern as well.
Mhm.
But it is going to depend on your size, the
Right.
fabric width, all of those different
Yeah,
things.
but we give you all those scenarios. Your cutting diagram is going to be incorporated into your pattern. So you'll have that. And like we said before, you're going to have a small to an XXL. So you are going to go up to, I think it's a 32 bust up to a 50 bust. So hopefully we'll be able to address most people. And you can see from the grading of it, I don't think it'd be too difficult to bring it down a little bit or bring it up a little bit as well.
Yeah, and if you're these patterns, the sizes, like I'm somewhere between a medium and a large, and I'm about 5'4". So you also want to think about which size you are and what your height is, because you might discover that you are going to want to give it more length,
Or less length, like me.
Depending on what that height is.
Right. And if you need less length, again, if you you can get by with less fabric. So it takes me 2 yards of fabric to make a bedgown for me. That's pretty long. So I don't know if there's any more questions. So at this point, we're going to say goodbye once again. We hope you're staying safe, and we hope you're staying well. Here in Virginia, we are supposedly, maybe, kind of, sort of, don't know, possibly going into phase 2 in another week. So we'll see if that happens. Meanwhile, we're just trying to be safe and stay busy and keep sewing. And we hope that you will keep sewing too. And we will see you soon. And I am going to log out of this. And if I'm still online and I look silly, it's because I have a hard time logging out. So you guys take care, and we will see you on Wednesday for our next sew along. And don't forget to tell your friends to subscribe to us. Thanks. Bye.